From the Delta Sky Club
Welcome back, Miss Klein.
to the Jet Bridge, Delta Airlines relies on 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to power operations and serve customers faster. Together, we're putting 5G into the hands of ground staff so they can better assist on-the-go travelers with real-time information throughout the airport. This is elevating customer experience. This is Delta Airlines with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
I'm Peter Schrager, host of Good Morning Football on the NFL Network and the Season with Peter Schrager podcast. Whether you're ordering wings for the game or you're whipping up a 7-layer dip or you're ordering a pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food, no matter what you're craving. From 2-for-1 pizzas to buy one, get one wings to whatever it is you want, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week all season long. Uber Eats is the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now for game day. Terms and conditions apply, and see the app for details.
It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Hi, everybody. It's Monday. I'm back from Munich. Paul Dottino remains in New Jersey. Welcome to Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. John Schmeelk, Paul Dottino with you. Just a reminder, folks, just 2 Big Blue Kickoffs this week, today and tomorrow. And then everyone here gets their well-deserved break, from Paul and I to Sitek to Pearson to Dom. We all get a few days off. We all need it.
Time to restock the medicine cabinet with those headache pills.
Yeah. I think might be something stronger than that, Paul.
Perhaps.
So it was a great trip to Germany. It was very productive. German fans were awesome. Some Americans that traveled out there for the game were great. Hofbrauhaus was unbelievable.
I'm sure it was people from all over Europe, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though. I'm very impressed by the German fans, though. If the NFL really wants to lock into a market that I think is the best NFL market overseas, I think more German fans are into it than the fans in England. Now, they're into it more since they've done so many games there now. But these German fans were impressive. Just walking around downtown Munich the day before the game on Saturday, NFL jerseys everywhere. People were so receptive and nice. Just an unbelievable trip. It was great.
Well, I think we talked about it during the pregame show yesterday on the radio, John, that during the World League of American Football and NFL Europe, over the course of those 2 durations, there were as many as half a dozen teams in Germany.
Well, the last 6 teams were all in Germany when the World League folded. So
exactly.
So
we knew it was a hotbed. Those people understand and they want football.
Yeah, very, very knowledgeable about the American game too.
Not surprised.
They did a really nice job. So fantastic trip. Great job by our entire team out there. Don Sperling, Christine Beluyo, who went there early, Carrie Bald, Sidney Gottweiler. Everyone did a fantastic. Our whole production crew, obviously, my radio team, everyone did a great job setting everything up. Conroy doing everything ahead. Steve Hamai, Chris Robertson, Ethan Medley, all the guys that did the advance to get us out there. I'm sure I'm forgetting names. I apologize. But everyone did a fantastic job. It was a great trip. And then the football game started, and that did not go so well. And I'm sure that's what you guys want to hear about. So I'm sorry for starting with that other stuff first, but I want to give the folks credit that helped set it up and just give the German fans credit for what a great job that they did. But I wish the Giants could have given them a better product, because they came out on Sunday morning against a team that I even think you can argue they outplayed for much of that game in terms of moving the football up and down the field. But as has been the case for this entire season, more or less, spare a couple games, the Giants found a way in the most important situations to make the biggest mistakes. Their streak continues, Paul. They have not won the turnover battle in an individual game yet this year. I don't have this tracked from season to season. I do not remember a streak this long. I remember them having a worse turnover ratio overall than this through 10 games. Not having one game where you've won the turnover ratio through 10, that's a little bit crazy. And that's where the Giants are. 1 takeaway for the Panthers, 1 takeaway for the Giants, 3 takeaways for the Panthers. And it's the location of the takeaways that's the killer. Taking points off the board for the Giants, giving points to the Panthers, throwing a Graham Gano a missed field goal for, good luck, And that's how you only score 17 points against historically one of the worst defenses we've ever seen.
Well, John, go back to what I told you last week about the scoring zone inside the other team's 30. Not the red zone. Remember, I said the scoring zone. Giants came up empty on 3 trips. 3 trips. They were 1 for 4 in the scoring zone. And that's not how you win games. That's how you lose games. They came up empty on 2 of the interceptions that went against Daniel Jones, and they came up empty on the field goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's 3 empty trips in the scoring zone. And that just doesn't work.
No,
I mean,
you aren't going to win football games that way.
You held the ball for over 34 minutes. You out first downed Carolina. I think it was 24-15. You converted 7 of 15 third down opportunities. These are all good stats, John. If I told you all of those things were going to happen, you're going to say to me, that sounds pretty good.
And they won the time of possession by almost 10 minutes.
But then you go 1 for 4 in the scoring zone.
Right, and then, by the way, take the scoring zone out of it, they got to the Panthers' 43-yard line on their first drive, came up with no points. They got to midfield, the Giants' 49, no points. They were in midfield on the drive where they had the sack on the flea flicker, no points. So 3 other times, you get it basically to the 50 or just over the 50, and another time they got it to their own 40-yard line, no points. So they're not burying themselves in their own zone, but again, that's great. Eventually, you got to score points. And 17 points against the Carolina Panthers, Paul, it's just not enough. It's not enough points. And that's been a theme all year round. And I'm going to do tomorrow at some point, I'm going to try to do it in the morning. I'm going to do a study. I'm going to look at every single Giant red zone play this year, and I'm going to just look at them and see what, and I will try to survive watching all of them.
Okay.
Because it's not going to be good. And hopefully by the time I get from BBK on Tuesday, I'll have that ready. Worst comes to worst, I'll have it for next Monday when we have next week's shows after our break. But the Giants have been the worst red zone team in football this year. They have 5 red zone turnovers. If Bob Papa's numbers from the broadcast yesterday were correct, there's no reason for me to think that they're not. And then you miss field goals again. I can't imagine there's another team with more missed field goals than the Giants this year. If there is, I'd be surprised. I haven't looked. They've got to be near the leaders in that. And then in overtime, the Panthers weren't able to move the ball for the entirety of the fourth quarter. You figure you can get if you don't score on that first possession, you can get stopped there. And what happens? Tyrone Tracy fumbles inside the Giants, 30-yard line. Panthers run the ball 3 times and they kick a 38-yard field goal for Eddie Pinheiro. So, I mean, you just can't have these types of mistakes again and again and again, and it keeps happening.
The thing that and you used the word location, I think timing is also part of it. It's
timing. Location is everything, Paul.
And so,
no question. As
I coined the word a week or so ago, unclutch. They have had the most unclutch plays of any team in the league. In fact, maybe more unclutch plays by the Giants than every other team combined. I mean, I'm obviously being facetious, but how many times do they self-destruct and ruin their chances to either take a hold of the game or take a lead? Not just, it's unbelievable.
I mean, how do you have it 2nd and 5 at the Carolina 6-yard line and come away with 0 points? When you're down 3!
That's, like I say, that's why,
at least make sure you get the darn field goal there.
That's why, the league needs to adopt my theory about the scoring zone from the 30. I think that is so much more important than the 20.
Honestly, now it might be with the way kickers kick, it might be the 35.
I'm trying to be judicious here.
It might be the 35.
Because the 30 is a 47-yarder, and I have to believe that's practically automatic.
48, isn't it 18 yards now?
Yeah, well, it's about, okay, if you're 35, that's about a 53-yarder, 52, 53, and teams are 50%, 55%. From beyond 50 now? Is that what it's at?
It's probably even better than that. No, I'd have to look it
Again,
up. I don't know
I'm trying to be reasonable here.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the scoring zone is from the 30. Do you know, John, the Giants have had 1/3 of their scoring zone opportunities come up 0. 0. I mean, not just getting 3, but getting 0. That's why this team is 2-8 right now. They've had so many chances to score points, not just touchdowns, but some points. And they've come away too many times with goose eggs.
And look,
nothing.
And look, Daniel Jones, 22 of 37, 190 yards, two picks. The 2 picks, one was a batted pass at the line. He's got to put that higher over Jadeveon Clowney's head. He hits him in the face, so you got to get that pass higher. The other pass, it could have been in a better spot. It still has Tyrone Tracy in both hands, knocks off his hands, goes right to Josie Jewell. So
Jewell made a heck of a play.
It was a nice play. To me, his 2 picks weren't his worst throws.
No.
You know, he had the overthrow to Neighbors on the big 3rd and 8 on the first drive. That drive could have been points if he makes a better throw there. You had the throw that he threw short to Wan'Dale Robinson on that comeback on a 2nd and long in the 4th quarter, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Now, when I rewatched that on tape, Robinson was a little bit slow coming out of his break on that. He also maybe his jersey got pulled a little bit, but still, you got to make a better throw than that. You got to throw it through him on that. And then the other play, it wasn't a bad throw, but Paul, he's got to get that ball out on the flea flicker.
Yep.
2 guys are wide open. You got to get, and he clutched, he pumped it. Get the ball out.
He did.
Get the ball out. I know Brian Dable took the hit for that in the postgame, that it was a bad play call and he shouldn't have called it. I guess I appreciate the coach taking the hit on that, but I guess that this, I hope, I will take the heat off the coach on that one, even though he took it upon himself.
Philosophically, you could make a case for either side on that.
Yeah, because you figure you're going to go for it on 4th down there, right? If you don't get the chunk play on the flea flicker. And Casillas and I talked about this before you popped on the postgame show. You want to be aggressive. You're playing a team that's not so great. You want to be aggressive in that spot. I have no problem with that.
And
I have no problem with the play call.
You could also logically go with the fact that you had runs of 5, 11, and 5, a 4-yard short pass. You could easily say, look, we got the running game going. Let's keep the wheels turning, grind out, get the first down, and a new set of downs. Both sides have some merit.
And the Giants have been really good on 3rd and 4th and short recently, so I think you feel pretty good about it on 4th and 1 if you don't make the flea flicker. So, but you can't take a sack there. That's the other part.
Well, that's the
right?
one thing you can't do.
You can't take the sack because you got to stay in that 4th and 1 because then you can go for it. Then you get backed up and turn to 4th and 8, 4th and 7, whatever it was.
At the very least, if he just throws the ball away there, even if he doesn't see anybody for whatever reason and just throws the ball out of bounds, it's not a sack.
I know.
The sack makes it impossible to go for the 4th down. 4th and 1, you could still line up and try to go for it.
Yeah, and look, this is really the first adversity that Tyrone Tracy's going to face in his career
I feel
too.
So bad for him.
Because he was the guy on 2 of the turnovers. The pass hits him in the hands, kind of, I think it hit his face mask after it hit his hands, if I'm not mistaken. It goes to Josie Jewell for the pick.
Well,
and then
ball was a little behind him.
No, it was. No,
and
yeah.
Jewell did a
it was
really
good
good job to kind of wrestle it away.
It didn't really wrestle it away. It hit off his hands, went to Jewell. So, I mean, it's a pass. It could have been a better throw, no question, but it's a pass that he should catch as well, especially as a former wide receiver. That's a ball I'm sure Tyrone Tracy will tell you that he feels like he should catch.
I'm sure he feels that way.
And then the fumble, I looked at the coach's tape a few times. I think he was trying to change hands with the ball to keep it away from the defender.
I think
so,
too.
And it looks like A'Shawn Robinson got his hand in there on that transfer. And it's tough when you're in that tight of quarters to try to transfer the ball from left to right. I get what he's trying to do, but then the ball kind of got punched out, and that was all she wrote.
Unclutch. That's all I could say.
And
unclutch.
I don't want to completely blame the offense for this one. Look, the defense gave up 17 points in regulation. That should be good enough to win a game. Let's start there.
Yes.
But, Paul, how do you give 153 rushing yards? Again?
4 runs of over 20.
6
passes of over 20.
Yeah, one of the runs was a scramble, by the way.
Yes.
3 traditional runs, 1 scramble.
Correct.
And 2 passes over 20 yards.
That's not something you want to see.
6 chunk plays against that offense? I know Len called last week, and he kind of had a debate about Jason Pinnock. I wish Jason Pinnock was out there starting yesterday because Dane Belton had a couple of rough snaps.
Now, the 1 touchdown pass that Young threw, it's really strange when you look back. I'm sure you looked at it already. All right, I looked back at the play, and when we were watching it live, I was with Jonathan Casillas. First thing I said to him was, watching the TV copy, how does he get wide open in the end zone like that?
When everyone's playing zone, but one guy decides to play man, that's how that happens.
And then you look, and it looks like Isaiah Simmons has that guy coming off the line, but then he stops because he gives him up to his zone.
Yeah, everyone on the play was in zone.
And so he's there in the underneath zone, basically guarding nobody. And the tight end runs it to the end zone,
And
and there's nobody there.
well, that's because underneath him, I think it was the other tight end. I think they were running 2 tight ends in that play. If I'm
I
not
don't
mistaken.
remember if they were both tight ends.
It could have been
or-
a wide receiver.
It might have been.
They ran a little shallow crosser.
Correct.
Bobby Okereke on the weak side of the defense picks him up, but for some reason Dane Belton decides to follow him across the field as though he's playing him man-to-man. Now, maybe this is what the coverage is. Maybe Belton did the exact right thing. I don't know what the play call
Maybe
is.
Simmons was supposed to play man on the tight end. I don't know the answer to that.
Neither do I, but that Belton was in that zone and he vacated that zone to follow a guy across the field. Maybe it wasn't his fault and I could have the play call wrong, but clearly somebody wasn't doing something right on the play, whomever it was.
And that's why we always say you can't assume
Correct.
what it was that the guys were supposed to do. But when you look at the play, it's clear that there was a bust somewhere.
And
somebody busted it.
And everyone else on the play looked like they were playing zone defense.
It did. It did.
So you can draw your own conclusions off of that. I don't know. Again, I don't know. Maybe it was the fault. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But, wide open. And then those outside runs again. These pitch plays in the first half where guys aren't sealing the edge. Guys are just not getting off blocks on those plays. And just chunk plays, outside runs. The Giants are fortunate. For some reason, the Panthers stopped running the outside plays. They started running it inside for whatever reason, and they went back to the pitch late. They got 1 5-yard gain in the fourth quarter. But the Giants, again, Paul, these perimeter runs, they've had so much trouble with them all year round, all year long.
Part of it's Thibodeau's absence, but it's not all of it. Kayvon Thibodeau is a very good edge setter. Carl Banks has been praising him ever since he got into the league.
He doesn't play both edges, though.
But he doesn't play both. No, he does not. And by the way, a lot of that is also run support by the secondary because
I think the linebackers getting over too.
Because I was going to say, I think Brian Burns next to Dexter Lawrence is the best defensive player the Giants have had this year.
Oh yeah, and Burns played very well.
A really
against
good
the
game.
Panthers.
Played a very good game.
By the way, looking at the advanced numbers, do you know the Giants had a 54% pressure rate in that game, second highest in the league this week?
Yesterday's game,
even with just 1 sack. 54%.
It was 54.
When you rewatch the tape, the Panthers were getting rid of the ball very
now,
quickly. And by the way, a lot of those Bryce Young incomplete passes was the Giants' pass rush forcing him to throw it off his back foot. So the pass rush, while it didn't get home, it certainly did impact the game.
See, I was a bit disappointed on yesterday's postgame because I thought they got the 1 sack by Burns on the second snap, which was awesome.
Which, by the way, was an unblocked sack. It wasn't even like a legitimate real,
he just
beat the offensive
like a Jaguar.
sack.
He just went right through.
Well, yeah. It was a play-action boot where they left him
there was
unblocked.
Nobody there.
They left
nobody
him
there.
unblocked, yeah.
Now, and I said what disappointed me is that there were probably 4 or 5 pressures where they were just a half a second too late.
I thought Bryce Young did a pretty good job navigating the pocket,
He did.
too.
He really did, and was able just to get the ball off in time on several instances, and they turned into completions. Where if the Giants had just been there half a second sooner, so I was a little disappointed. I thought the pass rush could have gotten home at least a few more times, John. Because you know what? They only had 4 quarterback hits, I believe, or was it 5? Take a look at the sheet. You got to have more than that. Especially with the amount of pressure. Now, you're telling me it was a 54% pressure rate. Yeah. You got to get more hits than that.
Giants had 4 quarterback hits.
That's not enough.
Those are the official stats. Those aren't, those can, a lot of times they undersell the quarterback hits on the official notes.
The best part of football season? Checking out the post-game stats. Which wideout scored more than 2 touchdowns? Which QBs threw for less than 350 yards? Think you can pick who will do what before kickoff? Then play Pick 6 from DraftKings, an official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, select between 2 and 6 players, and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. It's that simple. And for all first-time Pick 6 players, check this out. New customers play $5 on your first pick set, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code DK1. That's code DK1 for new customers to play $5 on your first pick set, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Non-withdrawable. Pick 6 credits. Expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
But that's what we have to go by.
But look, they didn't make enough plays again. And again, they only had the one takeaway in the game, which was I guess it's technically a forced fumble by Drew Phillips, but he kind of just, the way he slung him down, the guy's leg got caught underneath him. I think it forced him to drop the ball. But either way, it's still a forced fumble. Giants got it back. And
that was a clutch play, and Davidson recovered it.
He did.
Which is really good.
He did.
Let me mention one thing to you, John, and we haven't really talked about this much. We have said that the Giants only have one interception all season, and it was by Muasau against Minnesota.
Yeah, week 1.
Okay?
It's been a long time.
And I won't tell you which one of the Giants secondary guys, but I went up to one of the guys in the defensive backfield last week, and I said, how is it that you guys have one interception all year, and it's not even by your secondary? It's by one of your linebackers.
On a batted pass.
Batted pass by Dexter Lawrence.
Right.
And he said to me, we were just talking about that yesterday. And I said, so what's the reason? He goes, we can't figure it out. I said, here's what bugs me.
Well, here's the problem. They're not even making plays on the ball is the problem.
I said, what's killing me is you haven't even had chances at interceptions.
Correct. It's not like they're dropping them.
And in years past, this defense has dropped as many as a half a dozen interceptions during the season.
Well, I think that happens to all defenses around the league.
Right.
That's why their defensive backs are not wide receivers.
But the only thing we did kind of come to some agreement on that we could finally figure something out is, I said to him, there were so many times this year where I've watched tape on your upcoming opponent during the week, and looking at the previous game, he's throwing 2 or 3 potential picks, and maybe he's not very accurate. But then they play you on Sunday, and every pass is right there. No matter how many times your pass rush gets to the guy, he always seems to throw an accurate pass. And he goes, I'm glad you said that, because we're leaving some of these games saying, what happened to those errant throws that we were supposed to get?
Look, takeaways, and I say this all the time, right? This was my argument last year when the Giants came out of the season,
right?
And the Giants were second best in turnover ratio to Baltimore last year, right? If I remember right, they were plus 12, I think, at the end of the year, something like
Double
that.
Double digits, I know it was.
But and I always say you can't depend on those, right? Because a lot of times your takeaways are dependent on the other team making mistakes. Now, there are certainly plays where you force them into mistakes, strip sacks, hit the quarterback as he's throwing it. Now, the Giants haven't had enough of those either, okay?
No.
So the Giants haven't forced any, and they haven't been lucky enough to have gifts handed to them either. So
Bowen also
they're striking out on both sides of that
Bowen
equation.
said when you get as many sacks as we do,
and pressure. The Giants are
Right.
top 10 in pressure rate in the league.
but he said when you get sacks, that means the quarterback is getting taken down with the ball. He's not making that errant throw that could be intercepted.
That's true, too. But how about stripping the sack? How about stripping the quarterback when you bring it down, too?
That's the other thing that I would counter. I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it.
You need to bring OC in here to start teaching him how to strip
Right?
sack.
OC used to say, a sack's not good enough. I want the ball, too. If I don't get the ball and I just get a sack, it's not good enough.
Now, part of it is, and Jonathan Casillas and I joke about this, like Dexter Lawrence can't blindside somebody. Like, that man is too gigantic. Everyone, you can't not see him coming. So that, I think, is one of the problems. But a guy like Burns, Ojulari, Thibodeau, I think, try to get your hand on the ball when you come around that edge a little bit.
Well, remember, LT used to do the tomahawk chop, and then OC got really great at going for the ball. A lot of guys, when they get back there into the pocket, they're just looking for the big hit, and they're hoping maybe that the hit will jar it free.
Yeah, I guess.
Some of the Giants sacks, John, for as many as they have, to be honest with you, a lot of them, they've gotten guys by either grabbing them and pulling them down or getting them by the legs. Well, you're not going to get strip sacks by doing those kinds of tackles.
All right, last thing I want to bring up before we get to your calls at 201-939-4513. Evan Neal, we didn't know this was going to happen last Friday when we had our last show. No one did. Art Stapleton, I think, was the first guy with it on Saturday.
See, you mentioned that. I saw it was Aaron Wilson first.
I thought it was Art first.
Within seconds, I don't know.
Whatever it is.
But it was weird how that, I said to John during the pregame, how did that get across the ocean with
on
nobody
Saturday.
knowing it?
Whoever had it first, good job, whoever had it first. And Evan Neal got to start a right tackle, only allowed one pressure over the course of the game.
It was good.
Now, late in the game, they did a good job early. The Giants ran a lot of play action. There was not a lot of straight dropbacks early. They helped on that side with a couple of chips. But Evan Neal held his own in the fourth quarter. There were a couple plays on that final drive where Jadeveon Clowney did beat him, but the Giants were getting the ball out quickly, so it didn't impact the play.
Right.
Fine. So I think if you look at the PFF grade he got, is not very good because I think they had, while it was one pressure, he had 4 or 5 plays where they called beaten by defender. So he's beat, but it doesn't impact the quarterback, right?
Right.
So because whether or not he, wins is not impacted by how long the quarterback holds the ball. So the grade might not look great again. I don't really care about grades. I think given his first time out, You have to be pretty happy with how he played. And I thought his run blocking
was really good.
Especially when I rewatched it today. His run blocking was phenomenal. He was moving guys. He was displacing guys at the line of scrimmage. The other thing I like too, Paul,
he got a few pancakes.
He was not really on the ground much in this
No, he
game.
was not.
He stayed on his feet. His balance was better.
I saw him lose his balance and he went down right away.
Correct. And a couple of times, too, where he stumbled, but he stayed on his feet.
Absolutely.
But again, that was part of the surface there, too. It was a little bit, with the soccer pitch, and it was a little moist. The footing wasn't the best. It was better than a lot of what the English fields have been in the past. It was certainly better than those.
Okay.
But I thought you had to be pretty happy with what he did at right tackle. Unfortunately, we talked about what's the impact on Illuminor than a left tackle. He had a rough time on some plays, allowing a lot of pressure off that side. But again, first time there, changing your footwork, I'm not that shocked that happened.
Can I say this? If that Giants offensive line that we saw Sunday plays at that level for the next several weeks, I think you would take that. You would sign up for that.
Now, you got to do it against a better pass rush, too.
Understood.
The Panthers have one of the weaker pass rushes.
Understood.
In the league, so.
I'm not discounting that.
Sure.
But if the Giants can maintain that level of play, I think they're going to be very competitive in a number of these games. And I will say the other thing I noticed about Neal, and maybe you saw it too, was there were a number of times that he made his block, and then he was looking to help out somebody else or looking for the second guy to hit.
He got to the second level in the run game a couple times.
I mean, that was terrific.
He did a nice job.
So,
and he seemed to be moving pretty well.
I thought so.
He's looked labored the last couple of years when he's been dealing with some of that lower body stuff, and he looked labored trying to do his kick slide, all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He did not look as labored trying to move in this game. So I thought it was good to see.
We know one thing from talking to him the last month or so, as he's been trying to work his way back, he's as healthy as he's ever been since he became a Giant.
Yeah.
And if this was the turning point in his career, God bless him, because the Giants could certainly use him.
A lot more to see before we make
more
that
to
proclamation.
See. But if this is, I said if.
I know you did. I'm just making sure the fans heard you say if, so you don't start getting yelled at.
No, thank you. 2 letters, IF. But it's a really good start to try to make this his turning point.
Yeah, and you know what? They play the Bucs in 2 weeks. They don't have really great individual pass rushers coming off the edge in that Bucs game either.
No.
The problem is that then you might have Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence back against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. As much as they've struggled this year, those guys are 2 very good pass rushers.
You know what, though?
So we'll have to see.
That's actually good. Because you want to see Evan Neal take baby steps off of this game.
Oh, 100%.
And if by the third start, if he in fact continues to start.
Let's get him tested then, right?
Absolutely. Hey,
100%
come on, Evan, step up now. Let's see what you got.
And we know there's a history against DeMarcus Lawrence that's not great either. So that'll be a good test to see how he handles that mentally and physically.
Face the challenge, John. Face the challenge.
All right, 201-939-4513, folks. Before we get to your call, just want to remind you, go subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast. Yesterday, it was you and Madeline on the Rapid Reaction.
Yes, we did.
Is that correct? So that is up there, talking about reacting to that game yesterday. If you want to put yourself through that, enjoy. I know it wasn't a fun game to talk about, but we do what we do, folks. We're not going to have that many Giant Huddles coming up this week. We're going to have a Papa's perspective, depending on, and we think Joe Shane's going to talk at some point tomorrow, do his usual bye-week press conference. If that's later in the day after BBK, we might do like a little reaction to that. That'll we turn into a huddle because we want to do some kind of show reacting to the press conference. If it's before BBK, that'll be Big Blue Kickoff. No need to do a huddle about it.
Right.
But if it's after, it's like it's afternoon, like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, then we'll obviously do a huddle reacting to that. But then Papa's perspective later in the week, more stuff. We talks to Don Sperling, our fearless leader, about putting together everything with the Giants 100. So make sure you go check that out. And we'll have a draft season this week as well. Tony and I will record that tomorrow at 11 a.m. Tony's going to carry me on that one because I did, obviously being in Munich, I did not watch
You were busy.
I did not watch a second of college football over the weekend. And in fact, the LSU-Alabama game, which I never even checked what the score was. Who won the LSU-Alabama game? Does anybody know? Paul?
I do not know.
Well, that game was at 4 a.m. Germany time because it's 8 o'clock. Actually, it would have been 2 a.m. Germany time because that was a 8 p.m. Eastern time start in the States on Saturday night. So I will try to catch up on some of the college football stuff this afternoon.
Alabama blew them out 42-13.
Really? 42-13. Wow. I guess the bloom is off the Garrett Nussmeier rose. Alabama had been struggling too. Okay, interesting. So we'll talk about that and Tony.
And Ole Miss beat Georgia too.
That I saw. That one I was keeping track of that night because that was before I passed out. That was a fun night on Saturday.
By the way, Howard Cross's son at Notre Dame got injured the other day.
Oh, no.
Did you have a chance to talk to him about it?
I did not. I didn't know he got hurt.
He injured his ankle in the game the other day on Saturday. He had to come out, did not go back in the game. but they didn't need him. And now I understand Coach Freeman says they've avoided disaster. So says Notre Dame, UND.com, saying that it's not that bad. So I'm really glad to hear that.
Right. He will get drafted in the spring. Whether he's day 2 or early day 3, we'll have to wait and see.
They're calling it an
ankle
ankle sprain.
Drafted.
Thank goodness.
Hopefully it's not a high ankle. That could put him out the rest of the year.
They're not getting very specific.
Well, it's colleges. They don't.
Correct. But
we're lucky they even said ankle and they didn't give us lower leg, lower body.
So Little Howard, as they like to nickname him, we wish you the best in a speedy recovery.
And he is not very little.
No, he is not.
For the record. All right, 201-939-4513. We'll take your calls the rest of the way here on Big Blue Kickoff Live on Giants.com and the Giants mobile app. Let's lead things off as my document loads here. Here we go. Let's go to James in Georgia. James, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up?
Nothing much. So, a couple of things. I'm going to just start off with the obvious. This game is squarely like they like to put on quarterbacks on Daniel Jones. If we should have never got into overtime.
Hey, James, if you're on, James, you got to get off speakerphone, dude. We can barely hear you.
Yeah, you're fading out.
Hold on.
That's better.
I was driving, taking Barkley to the groomers.
All right, but don't get a ticket, please. Yeah. We don't have the funds to pay for that.
Well, sometimes you got to make sacrifices for the team. Right?
Go ahead. Well, be safe. Just be safe, okay? Go ahead.
I mean, if Daniel Jones hits any number of one of those passes where they were thrown behind, then we're not even in the position for overtime, including the drive where Graham Gano missed the kick. 1 or 2 plays, we're in a closer position.
James, he didn't play well enough. There's no question.
He did not. So I don't want Daboll to, I shouldn't have called that flea flicker there, because even like Paul said, I couldn't even listen to the post-game show yesterday because, the Daboll he should have did this and did that, and he put the flea flicker on himself. So if we get the first down and then you call the flea flicker on first down, Daniel Jones doesn't see the field, doesn't see 2 wide open guys. There's nothing you can, do for him for that.
See, James, here's the thing that confuses me. He clearly saw them. He wound up to throw the pass, and he pulled it back down. I don't understand why.
Just throw it into an area. Don't even throw it to your guy.
Correct.
It doesn't have to be a behind throw. Just throw it into an area and let 2 of your not fastest than Malik Neighbors, but better receivers on your team just run underneath the ball.
Yeah,
or
we agree.
Catches it.
James, I think the maddening thing is that for every play that you see there, and there were times during the first half where you just had to shake your head at some of the passing plays that were not made, he then executes a sensational game-tying drive with no timeouts and only the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, it was a good drive.
And he's 8 of 11. One of them was a throwaway. One of them was a spike. So he was 8 of 9 on the drive and gets them to the field goal that sends the game to overtime. It's maddening. And you know what gets me, James? I've seen the likes of Craig Morton and Joe Pisarcik and Tommy Maddox and some of these really bad Giants quarterbacks.
Dave Brown, Kent Graham, right? Just more recent.
In their wildest dreams, they could not execute that 2-minute drill and bring the Giants into a game-tying situation. So Jones, while he continues to be maddeningly inconsistent and will do things that make you shake your head, he also still does things that make you smile and say, wow, you did something that a lot of quarterbacks can't do.
I mean, the almost interception tip pass that Johnson had to make a heads-up play on, that's another one. Like, why aren't you putting the ball in front of your receiver? You got one job, essentially. Don't throw the ball way behind guys.
I mean, I don't think that was way behind Johnson. I just think the guy got his hand on the ball on that play. To be honest with you,
he got his hands on the ball.
And if Johnson doesn't catch it, it falls incomplete in all likelihood.
Right. And it was, I think it might have been a third down, or where J.C. Horn gets his hands on the ball and undercuts Neighbors, throws the ball out in front of him. Neighbors already has him stacked.
Okay,
You know
so
what I'm
see,
saying?
all you're doing is enhancing my point, is that he's maddeningly inconsistent. For some of the great stuff he does some stuff that makes you shake your head.
Are you talking about the in cut to Neighbors, the little short in cut on the last drive on the third down, James? Is that the play you're talking about?
I believe it was that drive or the second to last drive.
Neighbors also needs to run on that particular throw. Neighbors needs to run a better route. He's running that in cut at half speed. He needs to run that route a little bit better too. To be honest with you,
he could have not let JC get so close to him, to get more separation. Y'all are right. We shouldn't have allowed so many rush yards, but the defense had 3 or 4 3 and outs to end the game. Another point, I don't know what the stat is on this, but whenever the Giants defense does come out with and get some type of turnover, now I know it hasn't been interceptions, but a fumble recovery here or there, you turn the ball back over to Jones and he seemingly does nothing with it.
Points off turnovers, I don't have that stat, James. That's a good question. I'll have to look that up. I'm not sure.
They don't have enough takeaways, period. But I understand. And it's a shame that Gano misses a 43-yard field goal early in the game, too, because obviously those 3 points could have played out in a different storyline during the course of the game as well.
It's also
it's multiple failures, James. It's multiple failures. I'm not ignoring what you said, but it is multiple failures.
Right. And when the broadcast team are talking about, here's a 6-year guy, and sometimes you just have to simplify it for him and get back to him doing the naked boot stuff. This is a 6-year guy. He's not a second year. He's not a rookie. This is a 6-year guy. We're seeing the same problems after it. And, John Mara is going to have let me ask you one last question.
James, by the way, real quick before you ask the question, you're right. When a quarterback's in his 6th year, you should not have to be simplifying anything anymore.
Right.
You are absolutely correct about that.
Right.
And I know, John, you do the NFL stuff. The college stuff. I draw a blank on the name of the podcast.
Draft season.
Yeah, how easy was that, right? Which of the 3 quarterbacks do you like in Sanders, Milroe, or Ward? I'll let y'all go with that. Let's go Giants. I never like to lose out. I want to win every game, but at this point, I see us. Let's beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and
there you go.
Let's just see how we show up.
Thank you, James. Appreciate the call.
All right.
Of the 3 guys, look, I've only watched literally 2 games of each guy. I'm going to watch, by the time I'm done with this, guys, I'm going to watch every snap of every one of those quarterbacks. I'm going to have every snap. I'm going to watch every snap they take this year, like I did with the guys last year. I don't like any of them as much as I liked definitely the top 3 guys last year, and I think Penix and McCarthy are in that conversation too. And I'll have that decision once I finish watching their full season of play. I think I probably like Cam Ward the best. I think he's most the physically gifted guy, but man, some of his decision-making in some of these big spots has been rough. Shedeur Sanders is good. There's a lot of stuff that comes with him. And again, nothing to do with him as a player or even a person, but just stuff with his dad. There's a lot of stuff that comes with that that you have to put into your equation when you're having a guy be the leader of your organization and you're starting quarterback, but he's a very good player. Probably the most accurate quarterback in the draft class, throws a really nice ball. And then Milroe, he's the tools guy. He's like the Anthony. He's played more games than he did, but he's kind of like the Anthony Richardson of this draft class, where he's got a big kid. He can run. He's got a big arm. He flashes downfield accuracy, but down in, down out, that consistency isn't there yet because he's still learned to be a better pocket passer than I think some of these other guys. So that's how I look at it. I think maybe 2 guys go in the top 10 this year. I would suggest to Milroe to go back for another year, to be honest with you. I think he could use another year.
Well, with NILs, in that system. That's certainly a possibility now.
I think it is. Now, Cam Ward's already played 5 years, so this is his 5th year. And again, I think you like the fact that he's played a lot of years, right? He's played a lot of football.
Always like that.
A lot of snaps.
Always like that.
Now, a lot of it was in different systems, spread stuff. This year's a little bit better in Miami for him. And look, Sanders can play, man. The problem is that he's played behind a garbage offensive line. To be quite honest with you, he's under pressure constantly. He does hold the ball a little bit, but I think he throws the prettiest and most accurate ball in the class. Cam Ward just plays loose. He looks very relaxed all the times. You know those guys, Paul, and you see them like under fire and a lot's going on around them, but they just look like everything is slow for them and they seem calm all the time? That's what it's like watching Cam Ward. Now, sometimes you're a little too calm and relaxed and he's like throwing the ball to the other team. And I think that's what happened on Saturday. Again, I didn't see any of the games, but somebody told me he had a rough end of that game and Miami ended up losing that game, I think, on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, right? If you want to bring up his game log.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Or did they end up winning that game, Miami?
28-23.
No, they lost,
Georgia
right?
Tech.
Georgia Tech, 28-23.
Georgia Tech beat
and
him.
he had... Oh, he did not throw a pick in that game.
He had 3 touchdowns.
Someone told me he threw a pick in that game. Maybe
3 touchdowns,
maybe it was a different type of bad pass. Maybe he took a sack. I don't know. Someone told me he had a rough moment at the end of that game. I did not see anything, and I have to watch it. Obviously, I was in Munich, but that's how I look at that at least.
Yeah, I don't see anything on that stat line that indicates he had a bad day.
I
didn't see the game.
No, again, neither did I. 201-939-4513. Coach Marvin's in Delaware. Hi, Coach.
How you doing, John and Paul?
What's up?
Hi.
Hey, tough game. I think I blame a lot of it on the first half. They started so slow in the first half, and I think that caused a few of the issues they had, that they were fighting from behind. I thought they were still in position to make. They made the adjustments at halftime. People talk about Dabo can't coach. I mean, they made some adjustments in that second half that really it seemed as though they were having more control of the game than the Panthers in the second half. But it goes back to what I've been saying all year: is anticipation and ball placement. Daniel is accurate, but I think those particular things he doesn't see well. I don't know why he doesn't see it. But if you go back to the last drive and the completions he was making, a lot of those throws was hitches. There was guys sitting in zone.
Yeah, stick routes.
It
was all stick routes.
And what did he do? He hit them on their numbers. He was hitting them on their numbers. And those throws he can make. A guy get out there by himself wide open, hit him on his number. But I think he does it on every pass. Majority of the passes he throw, he try to hit them on the numbers. And I think he just anticipate and ball placement. You got to see where that corner is, because that corner, if you throw it behind him, he got a chance to knock it down.
You know what's funny, Coach?
Dislodge it.
In the drive, the 96-yard drive, which tied for the longest drive the Giants have had this season, it spanned the third and fourth quarters. He was 3 for 4 on that drive because they ran the ball quite a bit. But on the 3 for 4 that he had on that drive, he hit Johnson on a 10-yard slant. He hit Robinson on a 23-yard stop.
And the pass to Johnson was a slant on the third down in a very tight window, too. It was a very nice
gorgeous throw.
It was a very nice throw.
23 yards to Robinson on a stop route, and he hit Neighbors on a 19-yarder for a curl. So, it's funny. He can lead a 96-yard drive, and then he can lead the tying scoring drive at the end, and it just shows you that he's got something in him, because it does come out in certain instances.
One thing
but not often enough.
And, Coach, one thing I'll agree with you with, I think he's better at the plays where he doesn't have to hit the guy, and which is not a great thing. From what I've seen this year, he's much better hitting guys on sticks, hitches, curls than he is when guys are going full speed moving.
I concur with that.
And hitting them on the move. And he's just not as accurate, I think, on those throws, which those are the throws where you get big plays, you get run after the catch.
He was better at that a few years ago.
He was.
And that seems to have gone awry on him.
Yeah, and that going to what John is saying, and that he is accurate. It's not that he's not accurate. I'm not going to sit and say he's not accurate, because he is. And there's throws he throw, he's right there. Every quarterback has those throws. They throw it too short or some crazy throw, but he's accurate. The problem is he's not consistent enough to let guys catch and run, and that's what I'd like to see more.
No, I think fair point. Mm-hmm. It's a fair point.
And the flea flicker. I said this a couple of weeks ago when we threw. Remember they did that screen pass and he fumbled and it went disarray, and that's when they really had trouble in the game. I think that was last week. Again, we made a call, good call, but the flea flicker, we didn't really need that flea flicker at that time. I would have held on to that until I can get control of that game to where I'm in the lead of the game, because Tyrone Tracy was eating them alive in the second half, and I would have kept feeding them. throwing the hitches, just kept moving the sticks. I think Dabo was feeling, and there's nothing, and please don't think I'm out coaching Dabo. Dabo knows what he's doing. I think what he was thinking, I'm going to go for the home run right now, and I'm going to try to get something downfield. I don't know what that, like John said, that was a hitch in the throw. It just like he paused. I'm like, what happened there? What were you looking at that time? Did his eyes go down to see the rush, or he just didn't see him? And Daniel did say, going back to the throws, he's got to see the throw better and throw a lot more in front. And as long as he recognizes it, that's good, but I need him to actually do it, not just recognize it. So I think those are the things they need to work on, because those plays can change the momentum of games. It can change. It can upbring your defense a little more, where they see that, hey, the offense is doing their part, we need to do our part. Sometimes each of them feed off each other, and I think that's what they need to do. But before I hang up real quick, this is my last
real quick.
part. I got invited Friday to a top 5 high school game. A friend of mine invites me to inside the referee locker room, and it's very interesting in there when the way they go through a game and prepare for a football game. A lot of fans need to see that. But his name was Ron Kinslow. He was the head referee of his crew. I just want to throw their names out there because they're going to listen to this show. Vincent McGowan, Kyle Hall, Reginald Reed, Tony Parton, Paul Lombardo. Those were the guys that were Lombardo. Those were the guys that was referee. It was an excellent game, 28-23. Two last minute touchdowns in that game, and it ended in the red zone on an interception. And the referees was outstanding. It was like they wasn't even there. So congratulations to those guys.
Appreciate the call, man.
Coach, give those referees' names to the NFL offices, would you please?
Apparently, Coach did not alienate the entire officiating profession up there.
Good to know.
Or down there in Delaware, rather.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
So Coach must have been kind as the head coach there, yelling at the officials. So apparently, by the way, the Miami did get the ball back with a chance to win, and Cam Ward held the ball a long time in the pocket, got strip sacked on Miami's final possession. So I know I read somewhere there was a rough play at the end there for Ward, but he led them on a touchdown drive on the prior possession to bring them with one score. But then he got strip sacked on that final possession, and that's, I guess, what people were being somewhat critical of. Giants TV is the Giants' official connected TV streaming app. It brings original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. It's free on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. Scott in New Mexico is up next. Hi, Scott. Scott, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know he was on. Paul, I was listening to your conversation about inconsistency. I agree. But that's what makes quarterbacks, is that they are consistent. I don't know if you guys watched the game last night where Goff threw 5 interceptions.
I did not. I was on a plane. I don't know, Paul. Did you?
I know of what happened. Yeah. I know of what happened. And, in fact, all the pundits after the game were like, can you believe that? The Lions get 5 picks, and they still find a way to win the game.
Against not a bad football team either in Houston. Now, Houston's not great, but they're not bad.
And that's my point. The Carolina team shut out the Giants in the first half. I tend to give people credit for what they do, and I know you've been, there's a lot of, I don't know, I wouldn't call it excuses, but rationale as to why the Giants are not playing well. But right now they're 2-8, and that's the reality. And Bill Parcells, as you know, said, your record defines who you are. My question is really a simple one at this point. We're probably vying for, I'm going to guess, I'm making a supposition. I'm guessing that the Giants want to start over with a different quarterback. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I would surmise that's where they're going.
Well, I imagine we'll know a lot more tomorrow when Joe Schoen, I'm sure Joe Schoen will get asked that tomorrow when he gets talked to by the media.
Right.
So.
But my question to you, based on performance and going back to your point, Paul, of inconsistency, that's what defines what quarterbacks really are. If they tend to be consistent, they're in the level of a Josh Allen or, Patrick Mahomes.
Well, right. Your upper echelon guys And those are the guys who are going to be in the Pro Bowl conversation every year because they are not only constantly getting the job done and staying away from the low-level bad plays, but they're also at least occasionally pulling a game out of their butts.
And Scott, amazingly,
and that's what those guys do. That's why they're the top level.
And right now, there were fewer of those guys than we've had in the last few years, by the way, which is why the offense around the league is down as much as it is.
There's a lot of mediocre play at quarterback these days. Inconsistencies.
From hobby farmers to weekend gardeners and everyone in between, Tractor Supply trusts 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to make shopping more personal. Together, we're connecting over 2,200 stores with 5G business internet and powering AI so team members can match shoppers with products faster.
You're all set.
This is enriching customer experience. This is Tractor Supply with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
And I understand there is, but the reality has to hit you in the face. We're now the worst team in the NFL. So my question is a simple one. Do you bench Daniel Jones now, or are you still playing for the rest of the season, knowing that the best record you can come up with is 9-8, and that's not going to get you into the playoffs? And I hate to say it because I am a Daniel Jones fan. Would he be better served on another team? Because for the very things that you pointed out, it's almost maddening how he can play well, then not play well. And he's a good athlete. So, it pains me to even say it, but this is a business also. And the business part of it is, and I think, John, you're right. I remember your comment on Thursday. You wanted to see a 30 burger, I think is the way you went.
I believe that sounds like something I would have said.
And so
with mustard?
You didn't see it.
No, mustard on a burger. No, mustard on a burger.
Some people like that. I don't know why, but they do.
But you didn't see it, and there are reasons why you didn't see it. I'm not putting all the onus on Daniel. But the point is he made some inconsistent throws, as Paul has pointed out, and he's done it continually through the season.
Hey, Scott, you know what? Let me ask you a question, because you often just come to us with some stuff. For everybody, and I'm not saying that I advocate or don't advocate making a move with Jones, but George Young always used to tell us all the time, everybody wants to do this. Everybody wants to get rid of that guy. Everybody wants me to make the move. All right, so you better not ask the question unless you have the answer. So the answer is, if you move off of Daniel Jones, what is the answer not only for the rest of this season, but what is the answer for 25? And unless you have a really good one that you believe in, well, it's kind of hard to be barking out the question.
Well, yeah, but economics play into that then too. You know
they
what
do.
I mean?
They do, but you still need to answer who is going to take the ball and who is going to take those snaps.
And I think at some point the answer might just be someone that makes a lot less money and gives you similar production.
And maybe that is. I don't know.
And I concur with both of your points. And it pains me to even say it, but the real key is decisions have to be made. And so as I'm looking at it, and it's my opinion, I'm not asking anyone to agree with me. I'm just saying at this point in the season, based on his productivity and what they're doing, and unless you feel, again, this is the way you want to go, my which pains me, I would not be playing him. But that's just my opinion.
That's fair, Scott.
And that's all I was trying to get at. Now I'll let you go on to your
Thank you,
next
Scott.
speaker.
Appreciate the comment. Hey, look, Paul and I aren't going to advocate one way or the other on this because we like Daniel. We're fans of him as a guy, so we're not going to advocate either way. But look, we know what the deal is with the contract, the injury guarantee. We know all about all that, right? All the stuff that's been reported about that. So that starts coming into play now with 8 losses. The math of being potential making a miracle run is the math's getting very difficult. Let's just leave it at that. And if they were to make a decision like that, and again, we have no idea what they're thinking, if they're even on this page or not, we have no idea. In this theoretical world, this would be a logical point at the bye where you could make this type of decision to get somebody else ready if you wanted to. If you don't, I think you'd have to then stick with Jones for 2 more games because you're not going to make a change in the short week heading into the Thanksgiving game.
That would be difficult for a newcomer to fit in quickly.
Correct. So I think then it would have to be after the Thanksgiving game. That would be the next window. If they, again, not saying they should, not saying they will, if they were thinking about that sort of move, that would be the other window where you can make that type of move.
And folks, honestly, must remember one thing about a franchise. There are so many angles and points to consider that they must chew through and digest that we can't even fathom. I mean, we're broadcasters. You folks are fans. The writers are writers. There are so many more angles to every question that the front office must deal with that we have no clue about.
Yeah, and this decision, when it comes to that player and that position on the field, decisions like that reverberate across years, not games, years. So you have to be very careful in terms of when you make those decisions and what the repercussions of them might be.
Many more tentacles than you think, and they are far-reaching. In short,
yeah, it's like the butterfly effect, right? The old thing where if you go back in time and you step on the butterfly, who knows what impact that's going to have 1,000 years later?
Right.
Obviously, we're not talking about that type of time frame.
No,
but it's the same idea where one decision event can impact your franchise in a bunch of different ways. Just look at the impact re-signing him the way you did 2 years ago has had on the franchise. Whenever you make a decision at the quarterback position, it's a big-time decision. And you have to make sure you make the right one at the right time.
Yeah.
That's best, not just for the present, but more importantly for the future. And that's why it's tough, Paul.
Yeah.
There's still 7 games to go here. We'd love to be talking about impact on this year and making a playoff run and all that stuff, but this is when you have to start thinking ahead a little bit, right? Because realistically, you're at 8 losses. Could you rattle off 7 straight? Yeah, sure, in some universe. But even at 9-8, that might not get you in the NFC with the way this conference looks right now.
Don't know.
This is when, we got these calls in the offseason, right, about when you start thinking about these types of decisions. Mm-hmm. Well, we're at the bye. The record is what it is. I'm sure those are the conversations that Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll are having, or maybe they're not. I don't know. But this is how they're going to come to their decision.
They won't come to a quick or speedy decision. This is one they are going to digest and chew on awfully, awfully hard and long before they come to any conclusions. And that much I can promise you.
Yeah, and I'm sure. Yeah, 100%. I'm with you, Paul. Len in Columbia, Maryland. He'll be our final call today. Hi, Len.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're good.
Well, another disappointing loss. I mean, what more can you say? I thought the throw on the first series, John.
To Neighbors on the right sideline?
To Neighbors on the right side.
I don't know what happened on that throw, Len. That thing was just airmailed.
It was it wasn't even an overthrow.
No, it was just airmailed. It was literally like 10 feet over his head.
Well, just talking about the incompletion, that was.
And again, Len, you're past midfield at that point.
I know.
You complete that pass, you get that first down. You're probably going to score on that drive.
Terrible.
It's a 3rd and 8 from the Panthers' 38-yard line.
Yeah.
Oh.
And if Godot's back a couple weeks, he could probably kick a 55-yarder. But first week back from injury, you probably don't want to kick that from 55 out with him.
It took the wind right out.
No, 100. Len, no argument. 100%. I'm with you.
Killed me.
And it's funny. I went back to that. I'm like, did he maybe think Neighbors was running a different route? Could it have been a miscommunication? Yeah. And I looked at it.
Yeah.
It looked like he threw it to the spot. Like he threw it to where Neighbors was. It was just high. So I don't have it. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there's something more to it. But that's what I saw. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was puzzling at the time, and it's probably still puzzling now.
All right. I want to answer your question, John, that you had very early in today's show, where you were in frustration said, I don't know how you can give up 159 yards rushing to the Carolina. Something along those lines. I'm sure you remember what you said earlier in the show. Well, I'm going to tell you how you do that, John. You remember back to January when we hired the new coach, the new defensive coordinator, and everybody was trying to figure out, well, what kind of defense does he play? What's he going to do? Let's look at film at Tennessee. But the first thing that came out of the coach's mouth about to explain his defense, I think, is the answer to your question, John, and that is when he said, this defense is based on stopping the run on the way to the quarterback. We still can't figure out what the heck this coach that. And I think he's avoiding that tells me that stopping the run was not the first thing in his mind.
Len, I understand what you're saying. I get it. And by the way, another big part of this, too, is maybe even more important than stopping the run for this defense is preventing big plays, which is another big tentative Bowens defense, something they also have not done particularly well over the past few weeks. And you look back, there have been successful run defenses. If you go back to Rod Marinelli's defenses in Tampa, and when he was the defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, they preached stop the run on the way to the quarterback. You can
true.
stop the run very efficiently that way. You can. This team has not been able to do it.
No.
Well, and it gets down to, and you've said this. I know Paul says this all the time. It's a player's game. I mean, the players got to make plays.
Yep.
But when you sometimes are lining up 3 nose tackles. I mean, Davidson and Riley are nose tackles. Let's not try to pretend they're defensive ends in a 3-4 defense. Please. They're nose tackles.
No, they're putting big guys out there to try to stop the run.
Well, and they're not. We need somebody the size of Sean Robinson.
Unfortunately, Sean Robinson got $7 million a
year. I know. I'm not. I just like a guy like that.
No, I get it.
You get 6'4", and over 300 pounds on either side of. That's why. Hey. Everybody got surprised at, hey, you know what? Armand Watts made a couple of plays. Yeah, because he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
He's the perfect size for a 3-4 defense. Let me say one other thing, John. When you do your study on red zone offense, something's been really bothering me. When I look at the snaps and I see our blocking end, this is not about the player. It's about the position he plays. The blocking tight end.
The inline tight end usually is the blocking tight end, although he can go out for a pass. But I know what you mean. Go ahead.
Okay. He's the third tight end, unless he's overtaken Bellinger. I don't know. But
you mean Manhurst? You mean Manhurst specifically? You're talking about?
Okay.
Just say the name.
But it's not about the player. It's about the use of that position, the blocking tight end, on 25 plays yesterday. Something bothers me about that. Schematically, it's whacked out. What I'd like to know, John, you got a lot of things to do, but how many times was the blocking tight end on the field in the red zone offense?
I'm sure it's a lot. I will keep an eye on it for you, though. I will.
I don't get it.
Hey, you know what, Len? I'm going to go one better than you.
Go ahead.
You know me, and John knows me. I love playing the jumbo tight end. I've got no problem in short yardage, goal line, down there in the red zone, anything less than 3 yards. I got no problem using the extra offensive lineman. Absolutely not. Sure, why not? Go and forget the third tight end. Give me an extra offensive lineman and punch the defense in the nose.
Okay. I have to use the name, but I didn't want to because he does what he does very well.
Yeah, he's a good blocking tight end.
He's a good blocking tight end.
But he's also not a mauling offensive lineman.
No. But even more importantly, Paul, I guess what I'm getting at, we need another player on the field other than a blocking tight. He's playing too much, Paul.
The league won't let you play with 12.
Well, Len, I think the team wants to, and look, they've run the ball with a power downhill running game pretty well, and I think that's why they want to try to lean into those 2 tight end packages. To be honest with you,
I think he needs to rethink that. One other quick point. 6 weeks ago, I think Matt was on with you, John.
Yeah.
And we got into the discussion about Belton, and it started with Matt raving about the safety position and the fact that we got depth.
Matt loves him some Dane Belton. Matt loves Dane Belton. You got to understand that. He loves him some Dane Belton.
Well, he and I differ on Belton. If you're playing 3 safeties, Belton can play in zones and maybe the ball will find him. Okay? But you saw it yesterday. Don't ask him to cover anybody. Belton is a 40 to 53 guy. And maybe when we look at this roster, guys, maybe we got too many 40 to 53 guys on this roster.
All right, Len.
Hey, let's go Giants. Letdo try to beat the Bucks.
Appreciate the call.
Okay, Len.
Let me give you one example of a player, Paul. For the folks that can, if you have NFL Plus and you can go back and look at these plays.
Yeah, what do you want?
The perfect example. I'm going to show this to you, Paul. This is why the run defense is so frustrating to me sometimes. This is first quarter, 4:20 to go. Okay, the Panthers come out in. This is 11 personnel using Jatavian Sanders as a blocker in the backfield.
Yeah, he's an H-back to the right hip of the quarterback.
All right, and it's a pistol formation with Hubbard behind Bryce Young. Watch DJ Davison at display. Can you explain to me why he doesn't tackle Chuba Hubbard? Watch. So they run it to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Davison dominates his block and runs right past the running back. It's like he's like he doesn't even know he has the ball. DJ Davidson dominates the blocker on him, number 50.
He does.
I believe that's Hunt, correct? The guard? The big money addition in the offseason? I believe that's Hunt, correct?
It is Hunt.
Dominates him.
He
moves him into the backfield. Runs him right to the left. Into the backfield.
Right to the left of the ball carrier.
But he's so busy running him into the backfield
that he forgets the tackle.
He doesn't keep his head up and locate the ball. And the running back literally runs right by him for a 15-yard gain. It's things like that when I watch. I'm like, what's going on here? I don't like that play was. I watched that play back 10 times today trying to figure out what the heck was going on. I don't know. Like he physically dominates a guy that they just paid $20 million a year to block.
Mm-hmm.
He dominates him. He takes him and he moves him.
He moves him about 5 yards
but
almost.
He doesn't locate the ball to make the tackle.
Mm-hmm.
The running back runs right past him. Davison doesn't flinch. He just keeps moving the offensive lineman. It's like if you're in a meeting room, it's like, DJ, great play, awesome power, find the ball. It's like it's little things like that where it's like you see the talent, the ability, but it's details and little things on each play that turn into big plays.
Shane Bowen might say to you that maybe on that play, when the defensive lineman is doing what he can to clear out the lane, you got to have a run fit in there. Now, in this particular case, the way that this alignment is set up, it's pretty hard to get the proper run fit. Watch.
Well, I mean,
because there's a second level blocker.
I mean, McFadden fit.
Is charging. Well, he's charging though when he fits the wrong hole.
I think he fits the right hole. I think Okereke got blocked. I think he needs to. He probably needs to shoot that gap a little bit earlier.
Okereke gets blocked at the second level, and McFadden is going when he attacks downhill. He's attacking what would be the B gap.
Yeah. See, if he shoots earlier though, he might get there.
He's got a chance.
He gets to the second.
He's got a chance.
Yeah. So,
but he's getting blocked at the second level, and McFadden is shooting one gap, and this runner comes in this gap, and now McFadden's run past him, and Okereke's blocked.
I think that's Okereke's gap though, but he got blocked. Is the problem?
Well.
But again,
I appreciate your thought.
Too.
Here's Davidson dominating a guy, and then if he just gets any kind of peripheral vision, maybe he comes off that and makes the hit.
Correct.
Or at least slows the back up.
I mean, that is part of the game, though. You're supposed to locate the ball as a defensive lineman,
but this is the kind of
But again,
thing.
correct. I just thought it was a good example of the type of stuff we're talking about, where it's like, my gosh, look, DJ Davison dominated this $20 million a year guard, driving him into the backfield, but he doesn't locate the ball. It's little things like that that can turn a good defensive play into a bad one.
And sometimes you can also get hurt there on run blitzes. Now, in this case, McFadden is coming full speed downhill into the B gap.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming full speed. At that point, when that ball is handed off, he's already decided the gap he's going into.
Well, I think that's probably his assigned gap.
I'm sure it is.
Why.
I'm sure it is, but that's the risk.
Right.
That's the risk of a run blitz.
Right.
If your guy is going to the gap that the running back is not going into, he's got a chance to crease you.
This was fun, Paul.
We tried.
I'll talk to you next week.
Okay, you got it.
And try to enjoy your bye week. Relax. Watch some non-Giants football maybe.
I got a college basketball game to do next week.
Oh, do you really?
I do. I'm
game?
doing an FDU Yes game against Manhattan on Sunday. At 2 o'clock.
Oh, so that's right in the middle of football.
It means I have a game to do on Sunday.
No, that's true. You do.
So
I
I'm
guess
good.
That's good. But you can miss all the football, which is disappointing.
It's still a brown ball, kind of. It's orangey, right?
It's orangey. It is an orangey brown ball. That is correct. If you missed the beginning of the show, guys, it'll be me and SciTech tomorrow. That'll be the last Big Blue Kickoff live of the year, of the week.
Yes.
Week.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have a couple of huddles coming your way this week. We have Papa's Perspective later on in the week. We have Rabbit Reaction up right now, and depending on when that Joe Shane pressure is going to be, if it's after BBK, we'll do a little huddle reaction to it or something like that. If it's before, which is what we're all hoping it will be, we'll just talk about that with Matt and I on BBK tomorrow at 12:30. We don't have time. And again, if Shane talks, we're assuming usually he talks on the Tuesday of the bye week. This is me assuming he's going to. He might not. I don't know the answer to that, but we're trying to plan ahead. So that's the plan for podcast coming up. Then we'll be back next week, Monday through Friday with more BBKs and Giants huddles and all that good stuff. For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. For Pearson Butler, we'll see you tomorrow at 12:30 on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Until then.
I'm Peter Schrager, host of Good Morning Football on the NFL Network and the Season with Peter Schrager podcast. Whether you're ordering wings for the game or you're whipping up a 7-layer dip or you're ordering a pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food, no matter what you're craving. From 2-for-1 pizzas to buy one, get one wings to whatever it is you want, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week all season long. Uber Eats is the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now for game day. Terms and conditions apply, and see the app for details.
Lowe's knows you want to get even more value for the holiday. That's why as a My Lowe's Rewards member, you get new member deals on holiday decor, tools, and more. And you earn points when you shop. More points equal more rewards to help you save on holiday and more. Not a member? Join for free today at lowes.com/mylowesrewards because Lowe's knows deals. Program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. See lowes.com/terms for full details, subject to change.